Hey explorers! So I figure you like traveling and I like traveling. That's why we're all here. So check this out. Slow pan. That is a giant plane. Today I'm coming to you from the National Museum for the U.S. Air Force. And you guys, this spot is sweet. Not just because it's in my hometown of Dayton, Ohio, where I'm originally from but don't currently live, but also because it has the world's largest plane and missile grouping. So it's got over 360 planes and missiles, and right now I'm in this spot that has, check this out, planes from World War II, planes from the early 1900s. You might be asking why Dayton, Ohio actually has planes and missiles. Because it's not necessarily on the map of international relations usually. However, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is in Dayton, Ohio, and it is one of the spots where the military has been based for a long time. So it's one of the top military headquarters of the nation. Additionally, Dayton, Ohio invented flight. Now, if you're from North Carolina, you're all like, excuse me, Kitty Hawk's here. We actually invented it. Turns out that it was the Wright brothers. Oh no, we went dark. Okay, hang tight. The Wright brothers are from Dayton, Ohio. They're the guys who flew the first plane. They had a little bike shop, and they had all this research ahead of them, actually indicating that people could fly. So all of these bad boys that you see now are essentially thanks to the Wright brothers and the guys that beat them to it. Hi JJ, hey Todd. So this big plane right now might not necessarily look like what the Wright brothers first flew, which was a little bit of a glider, right? It was tiny and not entirely successful. But it's thanks to these guys who were in Dayton, Ohio. Now, I did hear a comedian once say, he's like, hey, Ohio, you guys have like 10 astronauts from your state. And the crowd's like, woo! And he's like, you invented flight. Everyone's like, woo! And he's like, what is it about your state that makes people want to flee the earth? Which kind of hurts, being from Dayton. But today, we have the opportunity to follow up on all that innovation. So, I don't know if you remember your World War II history, but this is a replica of one of the atomic bombs that was dropped on Japan. Now, this is not the Enola Gay, which is one of the famed planes from the World War. This is called the Boxcar. And this fat man right here is the nickname, is a replica of the atomic bomb. Now, this right here actually is an atomic bomb. This guy is called Little Boy, and it was dropped from the Enola Gay on Hiroshima, Japan. So what you're looking at is in the middle of the Midwest of our own country, you've got a view into some of the aircraft and some of the weapons that actually helped to end the greatest war that our planet has ever seen, which is pretty nuts. So, thanks Todd. I think it's cool too. So I want to know what you guys would like to see. We've got this opportunity to walk around this amazing museum with tons of super cool planes. Let me know in the comments below. What would you most enjoy seeing? Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the likes. Hi, everybody who's just joining. So, for those of you who don't know, we're coming to you from the National Museum for the U.S. Air Force. It's got over 360 planes and missiles. It's kind of a lot. If you actually took all the planes and all the missiles and the multiple buildings at this museum in Dayton, Ohio, you would have more aircraft and more artillery than a lot of nations have in their entire Air Force. So it's kind of a lot. What do you want to see? Let me know. Oh, look at this. More World War II. And this guy's a Cessna. And it's pretty small compared to the plane that we just saw. Check it out, right? Now, there are tech specs. But I'm actually going to tell you that I know from experience, flying a plane about this size is a lot easier than it looks. To be clear, when I've flown planes, they haven't let me like take off or land, right? Because that's where you have to actually have a license to do it. But I've had the opportunity to fly some little planes, like a Super Cub. And a Super Cub Piper 18 is this really small plane. And what's really magic about it, you're not looking at it, you're looking at a warplane. This baby's built for battle. But I've flown a Super Cub right above the fields and the plains of Alaska. So we got so low that you could actually see moose and you could see the blades of grass. And I don't know if you know the phrase balls to the wall, but it's actually safe for work. So you might be like, oh yeah, I'm totally going balls to the wall on this. It is not dirty. It's an aviation reference. So if you're in one of those little planes, one of the old ones, it has a joystick. So it doesn't have the advanced controls that we're used to seeing now. And if you go full throttle, you push that joystick all the way. Ball to the wall of the plane. So now when you use it and somebody's like, excuse me, that's not appropriate, you can be like, matter of fact, it is. I know my aviation history. For those of you who are just joining us, we are currently at the National Museum for the U.S. Air Force. And this is kind of a badass painting. Am I a pilot? Well, gee, I wish I were. Good question. I'm not actually technically a pilot, so you're not gonna like get onto your next flight, fly to Paris, and find me in the cockpit. That would be sweet though. I have, however, flown a couple of planes in Alaska where I was working on various shows. So one of the shows was a show for National Geographic called Alaska Wingmen, and it was all about Alaskan bush pilots who are total badasses. And they're these people who run supply runs and they'll deliver to people in the middle of the Alaskan bush, okay? Wilderness, as far as the eye can see. So I got to be in a couple of their planes, like a Cessna and then a Super Cub. And these are two totally different planes, but they're both very small and they both only have 2 seats. So I was fortunate to be able to fly them. What I'd love to fly in would be one of these. Would you guys fly in one of these? This is the kind of military plane where if you're flying, you're actually in the belly of the beast, right? So it's not like the type of plane that I flew or that a lot of people who have licenses fly, where you're just in the cockpit. These are the ones where you're actually way down in there. You're shoved in with all the supplies, you're strapped in, and truth be told, it's not real comfortable. So I would love to know what you want to see. Let me know in the comments below. And for those of you who are just joining, we're coming to you from the National Museum for the U.S. Air Force. Tons of planes, over 360 planes and missiles, and it's one of the largest collections in the world, which is pretty sweet, especially considering we're in Dayton, Ohio, of all places, where flight was invented. So Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, does lay claim to the first flight, but it did start here, folks. Look at this one. See his face? Hey guy, wave to him. It's not very responsive today. This is where a pilot or a gunner would sit. And this particular plane made its first flight in November of 1940. It's a long time ago, but it had a really great design. So good, in fact, that the U.S. Air Force ordered a lot of them. Now, according to this placard here, this bad boy can bomb from altitudes of like 10 to 15,000 feet. So if you saw this and you're like, ah, beautiful sight, it's usually coming for you. You might want to duck and cover. This guy up here, however, is a biplane. I don't know if you've seen a whole lot of biplanes where you live, but it means it's got 2 sets of wings as opposed to the typical one. Oh my God, this one looks like an RV. You guys see this one? I have no idea what it is. It looks like an RV. Is this what this sign means? Airborne scooter. Huh. Did you guys ever ride a scooter? Cool. This I'm calling the RV in the sky. This is like the original adventure mobile. So you know how people are doing like van life on Instagram? This is like van life with the great aerial views from the wing. Brilliant. Got a lot more planes this way. Check this out. Hey, little guy. I would probably not paint my plane with an elephant as much as I love them. They are not threatening. But nose art has been really, really popular over the centuries on airplanes. You ever seen like a naked lady on the side of a plane? You see drawings of beautiful women as inspiration on the side of a bomber, like a B-52. These all have really cool art on the sides. However, most of them seem to be Air Force specific. So you got a lot of symbolism that relates to the US military, like that star under there. See that? Boop, boop. That guy. And here we have some ginormous machine guns. You guys ever fired a gun before? I think these would have some serious recoil. I've personally fired a couple of guns, and it's really popular in the Midwest and in the US in general to have weapons. But I fired an M16 in Vietnam. That was a fairly crazy machine gun because it was used in wartime in the Vietnam War, and it has a tremendous amount of recoil. So those guns that you just saw, those ones would be mounted so that they don't just blow your shoulder off when you shoot them. Look, I found a babe, you guys. This is what I was talking about. I know, hold the phone. It's crazy language. The strawberry bitch. She's awfully pretty. So this is the kind of art that was on the side of airplanes during the World War that kept guys inspired, that kept them feeling connected to home. I think it's kind of cool. Speaking of connected to home, here's some great articles of clothing that actually look like something you might wear right now. The bomber jacket, super in. Thanks for the love, thanks for the likes. If you'd wear that bomber jacket, throw some likes on it. Or it's a pilot suit, but onesies are making a comeback, right? If you're just joining us, we're coming to you from the National Museum for the U.S. Air Force, which has a massive collection of planes and missiles, one of the largest in the world. And it's in Dayton, Ohio, the inventor of flight, where Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is located, which for a long time was one of the U.S.'s top targets for potential outside infiltrators. So if you were working at Wright-Pat, you had this amazing security system in place. It's got so much weaponry and military technology. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the amazing Air Force Museum. They have a variety of buildings and a ton of different aircraft. You can see super old school planes, you can see World War II planes, and you can see much more modern technology. Speaking of modern technology, when I was a kid and I came here last, I loved getting astronaut ice cream. Is that a thing you've eaten? It's kind of bizarre. It's dry and really strange, and you put it in your mouth. It has no moisture, and then it softens up, and it's like it's all the astronauts have to actually feel connected to home, like they're at the ice cream parlor. So on that note, I'm gonna go relive my childhood and have some astronaut ice cream. Maybe check out some more of the amazing planes. But I want to thank you guys for joining, because this place is pretty rad. And if you ever find yourself in Dayton, Ohio, I highly recommend you check out this spot. Thank you guys for joining.